All rise. Veuillez vous lever. The International Criminal Court is now in session. L'audience de la Cour pénale internationale est ouverte. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Thank you very much. Court officer, please announce the case.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La situation en République du Kenya dans l'affaire le procureur contre William Samoei Ruto et Joshua Arap Song, ICC 0109-0111. Nous sommes en audience publique.
Thank you. Appearances are the same, I see.
The same, Your Honour.
Thank you.
The same.
Thank you, Ms. Coach.
Good morning, Your Honours. Yes, it was at my request that the witness was taken out of the court for a moment. It's merely that I hadn't received a reply to our request yesterday of the prosecution as to what investigations, if any, with what result.
But first of all, the appearances on your side remain the same.
They do, yes.
Thank you. We're in open session, of course.
Yes.
And is this a matter that's best discussed in open or private session?
I'm happy with open, but Mr. Steinberg.
I have no objection to that, Your Honour.
Mr.
Yes, well, the Chamber will recall the nature of the request, and my friend said that he'll respond to it.
And Mr. Steinberg?
Yes, thank you, Your Honours. Perhaps at the outset I should just say that I don't propose to make a habit of responding to defence inquiries about the nature and extent of prosecution investigations in the absence of court orders. But to the extent that the absence of evidence I can see may be argued legitimately, perhaps, to affect the credibility of the witness, and in those circumstances I do propose to respond. I can confirm that the prosecution did investigate the incident to an extent, to the following extent, bearing in mind the absence of any identity of the deceased and an exact date of the incident as provided by the witness. The prosecution searched the database of materials received from CPEV and other sources, and also checked in open source materials such as press reports, etc. I can advise that we were not able to find any reports that matched this incident of the shooting of the OCS. Of course, there were reports corroborating the instances of looting in Nandi Hills by other witnesses of the prosecution, and also by open source material. And that's the extent to which I can report back. Perhaps I should add that the prosecution did not go so far as to direct a formal request to the Kenyan government for official records of any such incident for two reasons. Firstly, because this wasn't determined to be a critical piece of evidence. It's not something the prosecution is relying on to found a charge of murder, given that we don't even know who fired the arrow. And secondly, given the success or lack thereof of previous requests, we did not consider this to be a particularly fruitful line of investigation. We do, however, note that my learned friends opposite do not appear to have had the same difficulties in accessing local records, including police records, and perhaps their inquiries will bear more fruit than ours. Thank you, Your Honours.
Well, it remains a matter of concern that an incident of such a dramatic quality that might be said to be a token of a particular witness's evidence and capable of corroboration or not, with what effects that might have in terms of viewing such a witness, that no investigation, purposeful investigation, was done. And I know what my friend says this morning, but it really is a catalogue of weak effort, when in fact all one needed to have done is phone up Nandi Hills police station and speak to someone, as indeed was initially done by those who assist me. It's a concern because, as the court knows, we have repeatedly raised our concerns as to the prosecution's efforts under Article 54 to investigate these cases in an even-handed manner, and in particular...
But the prosecution has complained repeatedly, we know, and he's also saying it now, that it looks like the defense in this case have enjoyed more latitude to investigate this case than they have done.
Are the prosecution really saying that their investigators on the ground couldn't have walked into Nandi Hills police station or asked anyone in Nandi Hills? It's rather, we say, rather reflects what appears to be the position of the prosecution to, in this case, as far as its investigations are concerned, to leave no stone turned. That seems to be the position. And it's not just this witness. It's all of them. They're not looking behind the veil of deceit to adopt what Mr. Khan said or might have said in respect of these investigations. It is a concern.
All right. The concern is noted. Now, we will call in the witness and proceed with the business of the day.
Your Honour, if I can just make a point. I'm sure the government of Kenya would be most distressed if our investigators just started walking into police stations and making demands for access to official records. My learned friend should know better than most.
Mr. Steinbach, I think we need to.
As the court pleases.
Let's bring down the blinds and invite the witness into the courtroom.
Nous sommes en audience publique, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. Witness, welcome back. The lawyer for Mr. Ruto, his name is Mr. Hooper. He will begin asking you questions in cross-examination. Again, keep in mind the advice I gave you earlier on. Always listen carefully to the question and understand the question and answer it as truthfully as possible, and also to the extent that you remember. He will be doing his job in asking you questions. Mr. Hooper, in relation to the little matter we discussed last before the witness stepped in, was he was assuming seat. Would it also be difficult for you to refer to location number 1 in the prosecutor's PIS for that purpose, for the purpose you indicated? So we are... Yes.
Yes, I hope to do that. See, yes, it's on. I hope to be able to do that as much as I can. I'd hope to do it right at the beginning. Let's see how we go. Well, good morning, Mr. Witness. We're in open session now. I'm going to ask you questions for and on behalf of the defence of Mr. William Ruto. As you may have heard me say yesterday, I hoped to be able to conclude my questions of you today. There's a possibility that we will go a little into tomorrow. I think the first matter I'd like you to look at is a map in order to assist me in respect of some of the general geography of the area. And what I'd like you to look at, if you will, is a map which is at our tab 6, and at this stage I'd ask that this in fact remain confidential and not be shown outside the walls of this court, and we'll see how we go in respect of it.
Monsieur Hooper, pourrions-nous avoir un numéro ERN, s'il vous plaît?
Yes, it's a Ken DO9 0029 0018. Now we have a hard copy of that, but can you see it on the screen, Mr. Witness?
Ndio, yaona.
Can I see it on the screen? I have the map on the screen. Now, looking at this map, it shows the general locality with which we're interested, and if I can take you through my understanding of it, perhaps you can just tell me whether you agree with what I say or not. Firstly, we see there in the top-ish right-hand corner, Eldoret. Do you see that?
Ndio, yaona.
And we're familiar in this court with that place. We've heard quite a lot about it. And if we drop down towards the middle of this map, just above the red symbol, we can see Cap Sabit. Is that right?
Ndio, yaona.
And to the right, and just a centimetre or so down on the map, we see Nandi Hills. Is that right?
Ndio, yaona.
Now, just in order that we can get some sense of distance and scale of this image, I understand that the distance between Nandi Hills and Eldoret, going on the direct road, is 60 or 61 kilometres. Would that accord with your own recollection and impression? Do you agree with that? About 60 kilometres between Eldoret and Nandi Hills.
Sina hakika, yaona.
Well, let me just ask you this generally, and don't tell us what you do or what your work is. You've lived in this area for, you told us, many years, and by your work, you've moved about. That's right, isn't it?
Wait. Let's go into private session now.
Nous sommes en audience publique, Monsieur le Président.
And if we now move a similar distance from that little red mark pointer, again heading west, that is to the left, about 20 kilometers or so, we come to another place called Kobijoy. And I suggest the distance between Kobijoy and Nandi Hills is 51 kilometers. 51 kilometers. Do you have any reason to suggest that figure's wrong? About 50 kilometers, Nandi Hills to Kobijoy.
Yaona, bado nasema kwamba sijawahi kupima na sina hakika.
Mr. Hooper, the two named places you've mentioned are not shown on the map, are they? No.
They're not, unfortunately.
Oh, right. Nothing to regret there. You say to the left
Yes.
of Eldoret. You mean from what perspective? From the perspective of a person looking at the map?
Looking at the map, in other words, if you left Nandi Hills and travelled more or less in a straightish line from right to left of the plan, you'd come first of all to the red mark, which is about 25 kilometres, we say, from Nandi Hills.
What town indicated on the map should we take our bearing from?
Nandi Hills.
We see Kapsabet and we see Kakamega.
Yes.
In that direction?
No, from Nandi Hills, going directly left towards the red mark. Imagine a road, that line. That's 25
Oh, right, I see.
kilometres, we suggest. If you continue in that direction in a straight line, you will come after another 25 kilometres to Kobijoy, we suggest.
Beyond the red mark?
Beyond the red mark.
Does the red mark have any significance apart from marking Nandi Hills?
It doesn't mark Nandi Hills.
And it marks the city or the town you mentioned, or what?
Are we in open?
We are.
I'll come back to that. So, this is just an attempt at an orientation. It's difficult because the maps are generally inadequate for all the places that concern us. But if you continue again in the same westerly direction, that is, moving to the left as you look at the map, towards Messino, in fact, Your Honour will see that there's a white dotted line that one would cross before one gets to the area where it says A1 on the plan. And witness, that area there, around A1, is in fact, you're in Western Province, as it then was, at that point. Is that right?
Yohana, hii mapu imewekwa alama ambayo nafikiri bwana wakili ndiye anaweza kuelewa zaidi kuliko vile mimi naona. Yeye anasema, lakini mimi kuna mambo mimi sielewi. Yohana.
All right, well, I may be able to assist you better in a moment, but basically, if one moves to the left, the area of Messino, Kakamega, all that is what was Western Province. Is that right?
Your Honour, the witness has said he doesn't understand. I don't know why my learned friend keeps asking this question.
Mr. Hooper, I deliberately switched off the microphone. So you got the point. Yes.
And that, and unfortunately this witness has difficulties, despite his work, and presumably a work that involves looking at all manner of plans and things like that. Very well. Mr. Witness, would I be right in saying that Western Province lies above Kisumu? Kisumu.
Ndiyo Yohana, jimbo la magharibi linaenda hadi Nyanza, jimbo la Nyanza.
And it's about, you start to enter Western Province about 60 kilometres from Nandi Hills. Is that right? Or would you not be able to tell us?
Yaona, sina hakika.
I appreciate that. Well, maybe my friends in the prosecution can help us after the break in terms of distances, because I'm sure the court would feel very assisted by that. But we've got a general idea of the geography, and can I just indicate? Let me call up very quickly another map then while we're here. This is KEN D09 0029 0017. And that's at tab 5.
Le document est public, Monsieur Hooper.
Yes. Public document. I'll deal with this quite quickly. Do you see that red pointer on the map, Mr. Witness?
Ndiyo, Yohana.
And can you confirm that that marks Kobujoy? Which we assert it does. And this is taken from Google Maps.
Yaona, siwezi kusema.
Thank you very much indeed. Can we just pop into closed session, private session for a moment?
A private session.
Nous sommes en audience publique.
Now, Mr. Witness, I wonder if you can just help me about Western Province, as it was known before the name change brought about by your new constitution in Kenya. I understand that the population in Western Province is mainly Luhya. Is that correct?
Ndiyo, Yohana, ni kweli.
And from the 2009 census, so 15 years ago, and situations would have changed, the population was just under 4.5 million. 4.5 million people. Would you accept that as a general proposition?
Your Honour, I don't think 2009 is 15 years ago. Maybe my learned friend is mistaken.
Oh, you're right. I was thinking of the 99. There's 2009, but it's even more recent. You're quite right. Thank you for that. 5 years ago. So about just under 4.5 million people living in Western Province. Would you accept that as a general proposition?
Yohana, mimi sijasikia. Nasikia mara ya kwanza kutoka kwako.
Right. Well, again, it will be in a document that will be, or has been formally admitted in due course. And the Luhya population in Kenya, generally, I understand, again, going back 5 or 6 years in terms of figures, stood at about 5.5 million people. Would that be news to you too, or not?
Yohana, sina habari.
Well, maybe you can help me as to this, that the Luhya were the second largest ethnic group in Kenya. What about that? Do you agree with that?
Yohana, inasemekana hivyo na siwezi kudhibitisha.
They were the second largest ethnic group. I see. Second largest ethnic group after the Kikuyu. Next after them, the Luo. The next after them, the Kalenjin grouping of peoples. Is that something you've heard, even if you can't confirm?
Ndiyo, Yohana.
Indeed, Western Province was known as...
I'm not sure that indeed Your Honour responds to anything. If you looked at the question, whether it was confirming that was your proposition was the case, or whether it was confirming that he may not know.
Is that something that you had heard?
Yohana, nilikuwa nikisema niliwahi kusikia hivyo lakini siwezi kudhibitisha.
Very well. And Western Province was also known as Luhya land. Is that right?
Ndiyo, Yohana.
Right, thank you very much. Now let's move back to a particular area. The area where you were living was Nandi district and it had been divided into Nandi South and Nandi North at the time of the 2007 election. Is that right?
Ndiyo, Your Honor.
And in Nandi South, which we are concerned with you, there were various places. Nandi Hills was one, is that right?
Ndiyo, Your Honor.
Tinderet, Alday, and Kaptumo were others. Is that right?
Ndiyo, Your Honor.
And Nandi Hills, I suggest we must make a distinction between Nandi Hills and Nandi Hills Town. Nandi Hills Town is in Nandi Hills. Is that right?
Ndiyo, Your Honor.
And at the time of the 2007 election, when you went or hoped to meet with the district commissioner, who was the district commissioner at that time?
Your Honor, madisi mara nyingi hubadilishwa, lakini mwisho ule nilijua alikuwa mama, basi siwezi kukumbuka jina yake. Na siwezi kudhibitisha kama alikuwa bado DC wakati huo ama alikuwa ameondoka.
Was she called Lydia Muroli?
Your Honor, nilijua kama ni mama tu, singeweza kujua jina lake.
In fact, Murioki, let me spell it, M-U-R-I-U-K-I, for the sake of the transcript. And for you, Mr. Witness, perhaps I can just ask you this, because I suggest she was the district commissioner in December, January 2007-8. She was a Kikuyu. Is that right?
Your Honor, nimesema mimi awali nilijua mama DC mbali kuweko. Sasa sina habari kama yeye ndiye alikuwa bado DC wakati huo ama alikuwa ameenda transfer.
But when you marched into Nandi Hills, who were you thinking you were going to see?
Your Honor, mimi nilifikiri tunaenda kupata hotuba kutoka kwa DC.
Very well.
Mr. Hooper, is the Kikuyu part of that question still significant? The witness said he did not know who the woman was, but do we have an interest in inquiring whether he knows the ethnicity of the DC at the time?
I misunderstood the witness. I thought he'd agreed. Can you confirm Lydia Moriki was Kikuyu?
Your Honour, the witnesses...
No, I thought the witness said he did not know if Lydia Muriuki was the DC, but that he knew that it was a woman at the time. And the question is whether the woman he knew was Kikuyu.
The question for you, witness, is, was the woman you knew a Kikuyu?
Yaona, si rahisi sana kujua kabila ya DC akiwa ndio mkuu wa wilaya. Unaweza kumjua tu kama mama ama kama mzee, kama mwanaume au kama mwanamke, lakini si rahisi sana kujua yeye ni kabila gani mpaka uwe karibu sana na yeye, na mimi sikuweza kupata fursa ya kuwa namna hiyo. Yaona.
Is Muriuki is a Kikuyu name, is it not?
Yaona, siwezi kujua.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, Nandi Hills is quite a small place. In 2007, it had a population, I suggest, of about just perhaps 4,000 people. Would you disagree with that?
Yaona, siwezi kujua.
Now, one of the districts in Nandi South is Aldai District, A-L-D-A-I. You've agreed with that. And the centre of that district is Kobijoy. Is that right?
Yaona, wakati mimi niliishi huko walikuwa hawajagawanya, ilikuwa tu Nandi North na Nandi South. Hii mambo ya Aldai, Kobijoy ilikuwa bado haijagawanya wakati huo. Yaona.
All right, I may come back to that. Put aside the subdivisions, whether it's Nandi District or now Nandi South or North, doesn't really matter for this question at all. I'm asking you about Aldai itself. That was both a district and a political constituency, wasn't it?
Yaona, nilijua Aldai kama eneo la bunge tu wakati huo.
Very well. And the main place, as it were, within that electoral constituency was Kobijoy. Kobijoy was the biggest place in the constituency. That's right, isn't it?
Yaona, mji mkuu wa Aldai ile mimi nilijua ilikuwa Nandi Hills.
Well, you, with your political position, of course, will be able to help me as to this. Nandi Hills was part of which constituency?
Nandi Hills kwa mtazamo wangu ilikuwa ndani ya eneo la bunge ya Tindret.
Correct, we agree. And who was the standing MP who subsequently also became the elected MP in the 2007 election? Was that Henry Koski of the ODM party?
Yaona wakati gani, nifafanulie wakati gani alisimama, wakati baada ya mwaka, alikuwa mbunge wakati gani, nifafanulie yaona.
Well, let me make it clear. I'm sorry if I didn't before. Who won the 2007 election for Tindret constituency?
Yaona mimi tayari nilikuwa nimeshatoka huko na sikufuatilia kujua nani amepata nini wapi. Manake tayari nilikuwa nimekuwa muathiriwa.
Yes, well, we'll come to that. Who had been the sitting MP prior to the 2007 election for Tindret constituency?
Yaona alikuwa bwana Henry Koski.
And who stood for the ODM party in the Tindret constituency for the 2007 election? Was that Henry Koski too?
Yaona sina habari.
Very well. Now let's forget Tindret constituency and let's look at Oldeye constituency. Who stood for the ODM parliamentary seat for Oldeye constituency in the 2007 election? Was that Sally Koski?
Ndiyo, yaona.
And had the previous MP been Mr. Chogi?
Ndiyo, yaona.
Did Sally Koski win Oldeye constituency for the ODM party in 2007?
Hiyo, Your Honor.
Now, we heard something about your particular interest in this constituency, which I'll come to more in private session shortly. But we're talking now, I'd like to talk now about Sally Kosky. She, prior to standing in the 2007 election, was head of the civil service in Kenya. Is that right?
Your Honor, Mama Sally Kosky alikuwa, kabla agombea kiti, alikuwa permanent secretary katika ofisi ya rais.
And I think before then she'd been head of the civil service. It perhaps doesn't matter. And I see in your statement you refer to her as doctor. She wasn't a medical doctor, was she? She had a doctorate of philosophy from the University of Stanford in the United States. That's right, isn't it?
Your Honor, siwezi kujua CV yake.
And you didn't interest yourself to find out during that election. Is that right?
Your Honor, sikuwahi.
And I'm right to say that the village, I don't mention its name, the village was also part of the Aldai constituency. Is that right?
Your Honor, kijiji ambacho hutataja jina ndio kilikuwa eneo la Aldai constituency.
Mr. Hooper, are we talking about location number 1?
Yes.
On the OTPPIS?
Yes, we are.
All right, so that we are very clear as to the witness's testimony.
Yes.
Witness, can you confirm, you remember the document that had the numbers of people and places listed that the prosecution used yesterday? The question was whether location number 1 was part of Aldai constituency.
Hiyo, Your Honor.
And who was the PNU parliamentary candidate in 2007 for the Aldai constituency?
Your Honor, alikuwa Choge. Kwa Sami Choge.
Now, coming back to the Luya people, in the 2007 election, who was their flag bearer? Who was the principal Luya politician in that election?
At what level?
At the principal level. Who was the main Luya politician at that time?
At the national level, regional level?
National level.
Okay.
Who was the Luya's main man politically in 2007? Was it Musalia Mudavadi?
Ndiyo, Your Honor.
And was he a member of the, and standing for, and representative of, the ODM party?
Ndiyo, Your Honor.
And was he, as the leading Luya, was he also in a team of ODM leaders that included Raila Odinga and Mr. Ruto and Henry and Sally Koski?
Ndiyo, Your Honor.
And with the very substantial Luya population, is it right to say that the ODM, both in local elections, in National Assembly elections, and in presidential elections, was hoping to get the Luya vote?
Your Honor, rudia kidogo swali, sijakusikia vizuri.
Certainly I will. Was it the case in 2007 that the ODM party was hoping to get the Luya vote?
Your Honor, mimi kama mpiga kura tu singekuwa na kauli ya chama cha ODM. Kwa hivyo sijui kama wao viongozi wa ODM walikuwa na hiyo fikira.
Let me ask the question perhaps a little differently. Musalia Mudavadi was, of course, the main Luya politician. He was ODM. ODM were hoping, were they not, that most Luyas would be voting for them, giving them their support. Isn't that right?
Huenda ikawa hivyo, Your Honor, kulingana na msemo yako. Mimi sina habari.
Well, the significance of it is this, that you say, or the essence of your evidence is this. You attended 2 rallies where ODM speakers were saying to any lawyers who had ears to understand, we're going to kick you out and take your farms. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Naona ushuhuda wangu ulisema kwamba ile habari ilizungumzwa kwa lugha ya kienyeji ya Kikalenjin ikitoka kwa mwanasiasa kigogo ODM mmoja akisema watu wote wapigie kura ODM, na ODM ikipata kura watapata manufaa mengi katika hiyo kura watakuwa wamepiga. Hata ODM itawezesha kung'oa visiki ambavyo vimepandwa ndani yao, na hayo ndio manufaa watakuwa wakipata kutokana na hiyo kura watakuwa wamepiga.
Well, we'll come back to that a little later.
Mr. Hooper, apologies for interrupting you, but at some point you may want to give us a small detail of whether Mr. Kosgei and Dr. Kosgei are related.
Is it right to say that Sally Kosgei and Henry Kosgei are not related, except by perhaps ethnicity, with a common name? Though they have the name in common of Kosgei, they're not in fact otherwise directly related. Is that right?
Yaona ndio watu wa kabila moja, lakini si watu wa family moja.
And just coming back to Mr. Mudavadi, Musalia Mudavadi, within the ODM, he was Raila Odinga's running mate, with a view to being deputy president if they'd won the election. Is that right? He was number 2 in the ODM.
Yaona sina habari.
Now, and I believe I can deal with this in public, you had certain political function at the election. Do you remember you told us? I'm not going to mention the place. And it concerned, of course, the presidential candidate in the Alday area. Now, would you agree that you are or were particularly ill-informed, it would seem, from your answers today, about the politics in 2007? Would you agree? You don't seem to know very much about other candidates or the opposition or even Mr. Mudavadi's position as the leading Luya politician. You don't seem, sir, would you agree with this? Let me rephrase the question. Would you agree you were very ill-informed politically in 2007?
Mr. Hooper, that question is clearly argumentative.
Did you know much about politics in 2007?
Yaona kiwango changu na shughuli zangu wakati huo ilikuwa kidogo sana, na hasa sana ilihusu wakati wa kupiga kura peke yake kwa station. Kwa hivyo habari zingine za wanasiasa wao wakitembea pamoja sikuwa nazo.
All right. Now, in Old-Day constituency, who was the PNU agent?
Mgombea chama wa PNU alikuwa Bwana Sami Choge.
But who was the agent? Who was the PNU agent in the constituency?
Your Honour, PNU agent, if my learned friend could please explain what that actually means. Is that a...
Well, I'm sure I don't need to tell an educated lady from Australia what a political agent is in a constituency.
It's not about the educated lady from Australia. It's about what the witness can answer. It is the witness that's answering the question.
Well, indeed. And that's why, and no answer is still an answer for us.
The objection from the spies is that the question is vague. Can we make it more precise?
Right. Do you know what a political agent is in a constituency?
Yaona jina agenti ni kubwa sana na inategemea, na ni wengi sana, huwezi kujua nani yako wapi anafanya nini, isipokuwa najua yeye mwenyewe mahali ameweka kufanya kazi.
Let me ask it in a different way. Do you know who the PNU coordinator was in Old-Day constituency in 2007?
Yaona sikujua. Mara mingi nilisema kwamba uwezo wangu wa utendaji siku hiyo ulikuwa mdogo sana, haungejihusisha na viongozi wa PNU wakubwa wa juu.
Well, you say minor, you were...
Mr. We're in public session, Mr. Hooper. If you want to pursue that, we can go into private session.
Very well. Very well. Let's go into private.
We'll go into private session.